everybody, and welcome to Adobe Live here on Friday. Happy Friday. And you'll find us here on behance.net/Adobe Live on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays throughout the week. And if you're watching on YouTube, you're in the wrong place. You won't be able to get involved with our amazing chat. So come along to that URL. It's fine to watch on YouTube later on, but right now, get over here to Adobe, behance.net/Adobe Live. There you go. And once more, we're here with Joe, finishing off our hackathon. Hey, Joe.
Hello, hello. Yeah, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday of streams.
Yes.
It's been a fun one. I'm gonna preempt it by saying it's definitely sent me down a rabbit hole of some extra design things. I was actually just saying to Tim before we started the show that for the most part, I haven't done a huge amount of commercial design work since about 2016. That was when I made the switch from being full-time designer to then full-time photographer, and slowly the graphs, if you can imagine whatever these axes are saying, they crossed over. And so yeah, this has been a great dive in because of course take a lot of images and I always want to publish them and make things. So yeah, this has been jumping in and getting up to date, getting some tips from you, of course, always very useful, but having a lot of fun. And yeah, it's been a busy week, but I've loved it.
Excellent. Well, everybody here will love it too as well. So let's have a look who we've got in the chat. Today, of course, all of our usual suspects are in here. First in today, Kirsty. Hi, Kirsty. Andreas, guten Tag. We've got Sean, also guten Tag. We've got Angus. We've got Caroline. Hi. Let's see, we've got Stuart here. Hey, Stuart. We've got, let's have a quick look, trying to scan through. Sandrine. Hey, Sandrine. Stephen, doubled up on the Stevens. Double Stephen Friday. There we go. And, plenty more already. So plenty more in here. So hi, everyone. Don't forget, get into the chat, get your questions in. And this is a challenge week. So we're going to see some results today from the people who have put together a layout. They'll be winning not only a year's Creative Cloud subscription, but also a fabulous book that we haven't rehearsed our handover for at all. I could reach behind me and grab mine. Have you got yours there, Joe?
Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't got it until you hand it to me. That's how this works.
Let's see if that worked. Did I do it the right way around? This is the thing.
Try
again.
We're opposite. We're opposite. No, we're opposite on there to where we are on the actual stream.
Okay, then there we go.
This is where it's confusing. Okay, let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah.
Have we got it that time?
It's the other way.
Anyway, moving on. Right.
This is the book.
It is.
Honestly, we would never be a double act. I mean, especially not a remote
We'd never be a boy band.
So, grid system. I've been referencing it a lot throughout the week. It's as I keep mentioning, it's a great book with some good detailed structural sort of talk and topics around typography, which, as I always say, is the backbone to design. If you can get your interest piqued for typography, then all design should follow and feel rhythmically correct. Typography to me is all about rhythm, and that book doesn't actually mention rhythm, but it talks a lot in principle about what.
Well, it's one of the principles of design in rhythm and frequency. So yeah. So
yeah,
there somewhere.
I think it's it's just a great concept, which I actually mentioned to someone recently who doesn't do design work, but he's a good friend of mine and he does a lot of audio engineering and musician and all sorts of things. And I mentioned about rhythm in typography, and he was like, "Gonna stop you there? Don't know what you mean." And I was like, "Oh, interesting," but appreciated his honesty. And so yeah, rhythm is something that maybe a lot of designers like come to know naturally, but I think you'll see what we mean when we talk about spacing and other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite things that people trip up on is the word color when it's applied to type. Yeah, so when you're looking at body type, color, of course, being the density of the type, how grey it looks when you squint at it rather than ish red, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
yeah. Likewise with contrast and just overall typography is just emotional, isn't it? It really, it pulls out all sorts of thoughts and feelings, and I love it.
I could throw another book your way there, Joe, actually, and I might do in a minute if I can see where it's hiding at. But there's a fantastic book. Oh, there it is, The Complete Manual of Typography by James Felici. This has been out for years and years and years. But if you want to get deep into the weeds with typography, this is the book you actually need. Have you got this one?
I will look it up. I do not, no.
Oh, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, really good book. Anyway, moving on.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So let's, should we jump into InDesign and see where we left off on Wednesday?
Yes.
So on Wednesday, we were playing around with various layouts. I'm hoping I've got the right version number because I have worked on some things since. So I had all sorts of different options on things, and I've started to find some decisions of, do I like this way? Do I like that way? Those types of things. One of which was the page number that we were working on, and we were sort of calling it out big.
Yep.
And as much as I do love these big numbers, as I've started to piece it together into my layouts, I'm like, you know what? They can get quite distracting. Yeah. Even when they're sort of tamed back with things. So that is one thing that I then started working on. But before we jump into my other version, there was a page I did somewhere. Here we go. So we were left on this, and this is one of the tricky things of designing while streaming and talking about it is there's only so much of your brain that has active RAM. And as I was doing this, I was like, I'm not too keen on what I was doing with the layout, but I made some quick little tweaks and a slight subtle variation. So we see here, same sort of concept image. We've got the full image of it, headline text and whatever. Go on to this version. Let me find, there's some other pages that I've created. So I did just a subtle tweak of moving things around. And I feel like this has ended up so much stronger because of it. So I love this cropped off oversized text and some other things. I've also created another paragraph style, and this one's actually using an object style. So I'm going to run you through I break you down how this is made, because this is something that I've heard a lot of people want to know. How do you create a vertical rule? Because when you go into your paragraph styles, so let's say in subdescription, paragraph rules, rule below.
Above and below.
That's the only option. There's no rule in front, rule behind, or anything like that. So the trick to this, and could be seen as a little bit of a hack, but it works. So we create a text box, and you just draw it in like this. Add in some text of some sort, like this here. And let's give this our main body text. You notice I've also organized my paragraph styles into folders now, because they started to get a little bit cumbersome. In fact, what's going on here? That's chosen the wrong. Interesting. Oh, we had drop cap as a character style selected. That's why. So we choose body. And then I've created this object style just called vertical stroke. And that immediately applies all of these things. So what is going on with this object style? You see if we resize that down, it fits exact. So let's have a look in vertical stroke. So the key thing is we are adding some frame. Actually, we'll come to that in a moment. First of all, we add a stroke around the whole frame.
Yeah.
And then we add, if we go onto our stroke option, we add a directional feather. Now what this is doing is it's a bit like saying, how do we have a gradient mask across our whole frame? So without this, you'll see that the stroke goes around the whole box. But with it switched on, and with my settings enabled, so I have 2 millimeters inward of the feather. So we're masking away, we're hiding everything from outside to the 2 millimeters internally, except for the left edge. So if I increase this, you'll see that disappears. I could get away with 1 millimeter, but just to make sure in case we've got a thicker stroke on there. We do that. So this directional feather, set the angle to, well, just default really. You don't need to change anything, and set your choke to 100%. And it's not going to be a feather. It's just going to be a hard edge. And there we go. That's how you can do it. In order to give yourself a little bit more breathing room, because of course we are kind of masking into that text box, we have to create some sizing options. So in our text frame general options, you'll see again, if I turn on my guides and select it and zoom in so you can see, you'll see that I've got this little bit of padding that happens internally. So first of all, we're adding inset spacing top, bottom, left and right, just to make sure that our stroke is covered. I probably could get away with the 1mm, to be honest, but you'll see that it doesn't tie in nicely to the top of the text. It doesn't quite line up. So
right,
2mm, that's the way forward. And then we're adding a bit of a gutter, 4mm, and yeah, that keeps us on our one column in line to make this fit like this. So then in terms of adding it into your layout, as I just did, I apply my object style. That object style could also apply my paragraph style if I had the same paragraph style that I'd be using. But otherwise, I could keep it separate, because if I wanted to use it on the header paragraph style, for example. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing, because it's something that a lot of people are kind of a bit unsure about. It seems like an obvious thing. It's a shame there isn't a left rule and a right rule. But that's a bit of a hack and a workaround for it.
I'm just having a quick look around for you, Joe, while you're doing that, because I seem to remember something being added in to that effect a little while ago, a couple of years ago.
If you find something, as I mentioned, I'm often working with hacks that I've done, from 2010 and onwards. And yeah, if there have been updates, then brilliant. It's a shame. In some ways, as I went towards doing a lot of like web development and coding of things, the way that that's a headache in itself. But some things from the web world are just so easy and beautiful to use, like setting your padding, your margins, different for all four sides. But in desktop publishing, not always the case. It can be a little bit more traditional, but sometimes also a lot easier. So you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, I love doing a bit of CSS. Me,
it's so much fun. It's one of the only sort of disciplines for me where I can easily get sucked into 8 to 10 hours and forget to eat, forget to stand up, forget to leave. Like, it just gets me into flow state so quickly. I love coding so much, but at the same time, photography, travel, love it just that little bit more. So that keeps me occupied.
Yes.
Right, so you'll see that I created this little layout here. So we've gone for our tab. I'm going for the location icon, just added in this, and just for a bit of fun, added in the location coordinates. If anyone wants to go and count their steps and find their way, that's how you get to this view. So the concept for this book, because as we're not really making a whole book, we're just making ideas of how the book could work together. So I'm thinking of having some sort of title page of Japan, and keep it very simple. And I'm going to build it using just my pre-existing paragraph styles that I've made. So let's start with the word Japan. It's a good place to start. I'm going to set it to my oversized header. Let's set this cool, and I'm just going to play around. If my spacing is correct, I think I can put this on the bleed. Yes, put it on the bleed line, and it lines up to our column. So the rule that I've got here is for the content center, not necessarily the page center, but if this is going to be a title page, I'm actually going to align it to page center. And then this is what I was saying on Wednesday about adding in flags and things can very quickly get a bit overwhelming because flags can get very complex. You think of something like the Mexican flag, and in the center, there's, you know, so much design and emblem. It's like an eagle or something, I think. If I was to try and create my own version, a vectorized version, I don't know if I'd be able to do that, to be honest. So sticking with flags as simple as they come is a good one. Just make sure you get it the right way around.
Yeah. It's a plus.
Yeah. Fun fact about the Japanese flag. They had a redesign. I think it was in the 80s. Changed
Really?
the shade of red. Yeah.
Hey, we're doing
Literally.
a brand re
Yeah,
brand refresh.
they changed the shade of red, and you know what? I kind of applaud them for that. Just subtle detail, because they made it sort of softer and a bit dustier. Now, if I was being accurate, I could go and get, you know, the correct sort of thing here, but I'm being a bit brash, and we're creating something like this. So I'm just creating a shape. In fact, that's too red. That is pre-1980s Japan. We want it a bit softer. Okay, something like this. So simple double page spread that could bring a title page in. Let's pull in just some mock-up text. Probably wouldn't write too much on this title page. I think everyone knows how much I love spending time in Japan. We don't need to write a book about it.
Oh, I'm so envious. I've not been to Japan.
If ever you do find yourself there, there's a good chance I might be there. So hit me up. We can.
I will do, man. Yeah.
We can go about all the design spots, and just, I think one of the things that I appreciate so much is, have I done that right? Through column? Yeah. One of the things I appreciate so much is everything just kind of makes sense. Like, there's just attention to detail no matter where you look. And so to my design eyes, it just makes me happy. So happy. There we go. I've just added in my body text, my vertical stroke. Give it a little bit of positioning, work out how we want to place this. Do I want that kind of tucked in? Maybe I want it tucked in. Go for something like this. Playing around.
Well, mate, Joe, I've got news for you. I knew there was something. It was introduced in 2015.
Oh, right at the end of my freelancing. That was when I was tapering off and going into more video projects.
Yeah.
What have you found?
So it's a paragraph attribute.
Okay.
So you can apply it to particular paragraphs. So if you want to go ahead and just create a, if you want to do this live, I'm quite happy to do that.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Do some placeholder text then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool.
Okay, so with your paragraph there, you have got, you need to be in editing mode. So you need to be actually editing the paragraphy. Do you know what? I'm going to give you two quick shortcuts for you. Yeah. So if you double click first of all on the text there to start editing it, because it is a paragraph level thing. To switch between character and paragraph options as the primaries in the control strip, Command Option 7 or Control Alt 7 on Windows, and you'll see it switches between those two things.
Oh yeah.
And this is the longest name of a shortcut I know. It's undocumented, right? So this is a in the know shortcut. I'll tell you what the shortcut is. It's switch application focus to first available input field in the control strip / options bar.
Wow.
This is why it's undocumented, because it messes up their table, right? So switch application focus, Command 6. Try it, Command 6.
6.
Yeah, or Control 6,
Ooh,
and it lights up the first available input field. And from there, you can tab through all the others and Alt tab to go backwards. Or is it Shift tab to go backwards? Can't remember now. But so even if you're moving stuff around and you want to move them move the registration point for the grid, you can do that. Anyway, that's for another day. So let's go to the paragraph options.
Right. So Command Option 7. Yep.
Yep. There we go. Right. Can you see the right? There you go. Border. Choose that option. Then option click on the border graphic. So just there, option click on it. That gives you that. And then look, you've got options for the individual sides. So top, bottom, left, and right. All you have to do to get rid of them is enter a 0 value. Yeah, and they won't be drawn.
Got you. So I can.
I knew they were there somewhere.
Yeah. Can we add this into a paragraph style though?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it can become part of a paragraph style.
Interesting.
So in fact, let me just. I've actually opened InDesign on my machine because I thought I know there's something in there. I just haven't done it. So if I go ahead and do that while you, I mean, obviously people don't see me, so you carry on working.
Yeah, no, this is interesting. I'm just looking at the things that are catching my attention. Is so the bottom line is going to be going to the very base point of the descender.
Yeah, but you can offset it. So
yeah, personally, I would probably want it to the bottom of your like the baseline. So I need to go like minus 0.25 mil, maybe.
There you go. Set it up exactly the way you want. And by the way, in the paragraph style options, it is in the category paragraph border.
Wow, completely overlooked.
Oh,
amazing.
Stuff sneaks in there, you know, and they're very modest. The InDesign team, they're lovely, by the way. The InDesign team, and if any of them are watching, mwah.
I mean, InDesign, I think, is one of the most underrated apps. I love it so much.
Oh, it's brilliant. There's nothing to rival it. Nothing.
Yeah. It's just solid. Anyway, this is a quick little title page that I think, you know, does enough. Obviously, we've got a pretty healthy spine here. So depending on the thickness of what the book is, we'd have to see this in a mock-up to be, is the flag going to be, you know, visible, or are we going to end up seeing it like this when we open it? So we can play, you know, ignorant on this at the moment. I think it looks kind of cool. Right, so that was a key thing. And speaking of spine, I think we've got time to add an actual spine and back cover, because, you know, if we're making this a real book, I was kind of running past it in the first stream just to get on with stuff. So let's make a quick spine. So the way that we do this, we go, we need to make sure that we've turned off allow document pages to shuffle. And I've actually run out of pages, but let's just create some new. Let's just give ourselves 6 pages to work with. Cool. And just, oh dear. There we go. We've got a few to work with down the bottom. So I'm just going to drag these and place these where I want. So I've turned off allow document page to shuffle, and you see that if I drag it, I can connect it up onto that one. And let's create another one, connect it up. So that'll be our back cover. And let's jump to it. And then the page tool, which is over here. Actually, that's.
Are you doing your spine? Perfect.
Yeah.
In fact, somebody was asking this in the chat. I think it might have been Stuart was asking about how you'd how you'd approach this thing, and this is the way. I said always check with your printer, but I would do it with a layout, with an extra page layout, an island spread as it's known.
Yeah. Often I would actually kind of, I guess, be asked by printers if this could be its own document, just because, you know, it avoids all sorts of confusion on things. Interestingly, this has reminded me of, what am I doing here? Inside, outside. Interestingly, it's reminded me of some other things that I've done in the past on like multi-page spreads. I remember designing for an exhibition. It was like, I don't know, some expo at Earl's Court.
Yeah.
And the actual banners were about 6 or 8 meters in length. Like, they were massive. And of course, you're not going to open an 8-meter document in InDesign. No. I don't think it would even open. It would just hang about for ages. So what you actually do is you create everything to scale. So you kind of end up having a notepad next to you with all sorts of common measurements. Oh, I'm not holding Option. All sorts of common measurements sort of written down for you to make sure that as you're piecing together your design, you're doing it to scale. But it can be a bit of a like a headache just to work out. You're like, I'm making this massive thing. It looks good, but then you're like, oh no, this is actually going to be 6 meters. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
But printers, they are just magical. They have tamed the beast that cannot be tamed.
I happen to know that there is at least one person in the chat who does van wraps in Illustrator. Wow. So, you know, you think about the complexity of doing that stuff. It's mad.
Wow. I mean,
I had a double-decker bus wrapped once.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool until I saw it unveiled and realised that I hadn't terminated some of the strokes properly. I learned a valuable lesson from that. I was the only person that noticed, by the way, but I was just like, oh
no. Printing sometimes gives me motion sickness, especially when you're trying to work out like double-sided printing and you're sort of like spinning it upside down. It's it's very, very tricky sometimes. Right, let's go. What have I called this? Back to travel.
Yes.
Let's give this little white color. I did go and adjust my swatches a little bit as well. And I ended up going back with my safety blanket of using the luminosity in Photoshop. I'll quickly demo that in a moment. So, bit of a title here, and let's also put a name on there because everyone likes a byline. And let's give this that. Oh. Okay.
I'm just jotting a quick note to Sandrine in the chat, by the way, who's asking about when you print a book and bind it, the inner pages are shorter than the outer ones. I think we mentioned that briefly on Wednesday.
Yeah, that would also be another thing of why it's probably a safer bet to do it in a separate document, just so that you don't overlook those types of things.
But it's page creep is the phenomenon for that. That's what it's known as, creep or page creep. There is a script that allows you to calculate it, but most of the time, if you talk to your printer, so make sure you always have a good dialogue with printers because they're really helpful. They don't want you to waste your money, and they don't, or a good printer is really helpful. They don't want you to waste your money. They don't want to put out a job that you're not happy with. So talk to them, and they will discuss it with you. And most of the time, things like creep are dealt with by the printers at the imposition stage, and that's when the whole thing's laid out, ready to be run.
Yeah. Likewise, if you can, physically go there and, watch the process. It's fascinating, especially when you start seeing all the all the pages being trimmed at once. You're like, oh, that's dangerous, but fun.
Oh man! So I don't know if you know, but I started out as a printer.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Well, I was actually, in truth, I was making posters before that, but then my first job in the industry was as a printer. And we had, I was left to sweep up one day, and the guillotine blade arrived while everybody was at lunch, and they come in like a big wooden package. It's like a mini crate. It's about sort of, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 inches high, the length of whatever guillotine blade you've got and the width of whatever guillotine blade you've got. And the delivery guy put it down on the bench, got me to sign for it. And I looked inside of it because you could just see this glint. And I thought, wow, that looks really sharp. So being a boy, what did I do is I poked my finger through the crate. And I only touched it, but oh man, silly boy.
Yeah, very, very sharp. That's probably Japanese steel, just like all your hairdressers.
Yes. Many, many foldings. Yes.
All right, just going to run through another thing I added very briefly. I just added a little bit of a pull quote into this, which I think is, just like a nice touch sometimes. Sometimes they could be a little bit more editorial. You see this in, magazines more so than other things, but I like them. And I've set my sizing and spacing. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I've set it so that the baselines always match on a 4 times rhythm. That makes sense.
Yes.
On other notes, so just worked with this quick idea. Just did a very, very rough sort of like outline of the West Coast. Again, just ideas for how this book could come to be, of having sections of like, oh, here's an area of the West Coast road trip, and then leads into other layouts and things like this. So piecing together, we've got a number of different spreads on things, and I think this all looks pretty good. So we are just going to do let me just check my notes in case there was anything else.
It's okay. Oh, just while you're doing that, Caroline in the chat has said printers have imposition software that can do creep, and they use a really good script called ID Imposer. So there you go, something written to mesh with InDesign as well.
There
so
we
that's
go.
grand.
Cool. All right. So whilst we've still got time, so let's say you've been working on this book, and let's face it, working on a book takes a lot longer than just 3-hour streams.
It does.
You would eventually find yourself at a point where you're like, I'm ready, I'm happy, let's send it to print. So first things first is, before you ever export anything, you want to double check your errors and pre-flight. Luckily, I'm pretty good. All of these are error-free, but if you did have errors, such as text that's kind of cropped off like that, you get all your warnings for it. And if you go into your pre-flight, we can jump straight to it. And boom, there it is. There's your problem. Fix. So all of this looks pretty good. And I'm just going to go and export as a PDF.
Yay, which is the best approach to deal with any printer, rather than sending them your files.
PDFs are just, they're OAPs these days. They've been around for donkey's years.
They have. Foundation of Adobe.
Yeah.
In many, many ways.
So I'm doing a print one. I'm just going to use the document name added in live, because I have already done this. So there's a few things that, again, your printer will be your best sort of guide to look through. I'm just going to double check my compression. So any images above 450, they're going to downsample to 300 dots per inch. Kind of happy with that. To be honest, I'm also happy if it stays at 450, to be honest, if you can get a good printer. We'll just leave these at the default. Marks and bleeds. So for my sake, I'm going to turn on the following, because I've already added in color swatches into my slug. I'm not necessarily going to be doing color bars. Could add in page information if you wanted, but that's all good. And use the document bleed that we set up in the first stream, and the slug area, which is this outside area. Otherwise, you're kind of good to go. So we can hit export and we'll get our page. Now, let's jump ahead a few business steps and say you want to promote your book.
Yes.
So
you do 3 live streams, and you make the book in front of people, and then you go, by the way, this is available now. Anyway, right, move on. Sorry.
and it's filled with lorem ipsum and complete placeholder text. And you know what? A photo book, who reads the pages anyway? You just look at the images. In fact, that would actually be a great book. Just make a complete placeholder. Anyway, where was I? So these were the swatches, by the way, that I was kind of toying with. I ended up going with this collection, the second option down. So if we view just those, essentially, I've done it with a single color key that fits under all of those. And then my control swatches are various shades of gray that I kind of tweaked and found and played around with. So I generally wanted to stick all the way to the left edge and just keep them at various points. So I never really ever want to go like full black on things. I like that softness And then, yeah, medium dark, medium light, and a light. And then I set this folder, or this group rather, just a hard light. And if I can close that down, when that's over the top of your key color, you just get these nice sort of like hints of a color that comes through all of your shades of gray. And it makes it very easy then if you want to adjust and play around. So say we don't want a blue one, like, oh, I want a pink one
just
or a red one.
Change the input color. Nice. That's a
Go for that.
great tip, Jack.
It's yeah, those are my levels of laziness and efficiency. Two intertwined things. Right, so those are the swatches. We can actually let's leave it open just in case. So do we have time to show this? Probably not enough time to show the whole book, but we can do a little bit. So essentially, I pre-made this last night, which is a manually made, manual-looking device. So I just browsed Adobe stock, found this, dragged in my PDF, which let me show you how that looks. And let's go. Oh, have I organized it? Design 2021. Yes. So as we pull in our PDF, you see we get the option here. So we can either go for the complete edge of the PDF, which would be your bounding box. Let's make that large so you can see. So of course that includes all of the registration marks, the crops and things like that. We can go straight to the crop, or the bleed, or the trim, all sorts of different options. I'm going to go for the complete shebang.
Oh, cool.
Just so that we've got stuff to work with, because I know that on my cover, I don't have a defining line between my back cover and my spine. So in order to measure it accurately, doing it that way.
I'm going to use the crop, the fold marks. Brilliant. Like
yeah.
It. Yeah.
So, so this is how it looked when we dropped it in. And you know, I'm not going to run you through the whole thing step by step, just because it does take a bit of time. But I'll break it down how I did it. So we have our PDF, and essentially I duplicated or tripled it rather. So we had this same smart object or same PDF rather, as the cover, as the spine, and as the back. And I placed it into their own little smart objects that look like this, and they're cropped to the edge and to their crop mark. So if we uncover what's hidden, and it's on a clipping mask. So each of these smart objects is the whole document. Okay, hopefully you can follow along with that. And so I've got one for the front cover, one for the spine, and one for the back cover. Doing it in smart objects just means that I can then play around with these, and at a later date, if I wanted to change, you know, so for example, let's duplicate this, and very rough and ready. Essentially, I can transform this, and I can give it perspective, and you know, move it around, and blah blah blah.
Yeah. Do you ever try holding the command key when you're doing that and just moving the corners to distort it? Have you ever tried doing that?
On the free transform, yeah. I often do forget that, actually. That is that is the way to do that quicker. So yeah, if we double click into our Star Wars credits, we end up on this, and then if we want to update the design, this is where you do it within the smart object. I think most people should be aware of how that works.
Yes.
So without running through how all of that's done, I eventually came to this, which I've just used the measurements of this stock image just to piece it together. So we look into this smart object, which is actually an external file just dropped in so that I can use it across other documents. We have our front cover, we have our spine, and we have this fun little thing down here, which is actually just a rectangle. And I made this a long time ago, and I was so glad that it was saved in my Photoshop. So it's just this gradient that I created which has your colors at the bottom, and then it just goes
Nice.
from 100%, 0, 100, 0, 100, 0, all the way through. So if you want to change the color of your page shadow or stripe or whatever, you can just do it once there, or twice rather, and it works brilliantly. So we've just got this shape with the gradient applied. I haven't done anything to that, and then I've just skewed it and placed it in, and at a distance it does the job. Very rough and ready, but does the job well. So we have this book layout, and let's say we wanted to promote this on our Instagram stories, which of course I would do frequently. I can place my book into here, and I can just add in some text and some other things. I've got my swatches for reference if I need them on this group layer. And I would then go through, and once I've created a layer that I'm happy with, so here's one that I made earlier, which I'm actually glad I did, because I'm aware that we also need to run through the stream submissions in a moment.
We do. Be awesome.
So
all right, though, we've got a good 19 minutes, Joe. So we're all right.
Okay, all right.
I'm
not gonna run through it, race through.
We're all good.
So our Instagram story layout options. So in fact, let's create a new one then. So I've got main artwork, and let's just do this one as option 1. And I like to duplicate my groups rather than using layer comps for position, just because again, it can get a little bit messy the more you go. So maybe create some new books. And essentially, we're going to be creating a bit of a JPEG or a design that will just get exported out, and then you can post that direct to your Instagram stories. Resolution, by the way, is 1080 by 1920, so 9 by 16 in vertical form. If I wanted, I could even bring in my logo that I've made, the back to travel. I do feel like you're sort of duplicating the wording if you end up doing that. In fact, I kind of like this a bit more centralized. One of the key things with Instagram stories is don't overload it. Don't overload it with too much text and information. It's only on screen for a few seconds, and people are so quick to just tap through. Have you ever watched someone, particularly like a lot younger, maybe early teens, the way that they fly through Instagram stories, they're just like bang, 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 not even looking at them.
Yeah.
It's, wild.
You can press on them, though, right, to pause them, can't you? You can press on them. Yeah.
So let's say we've got a couple of options here. I'm just going to keep tweaking the position. Very simple. And let's go to my layer comps and create a new one. So IG-story new book -2A. Copy that to my clipboard so I don't have to type it out again. So I've mentioned this a few times in the stream, but it's still one of my favorite things. So layer comps I use for exporting out multiple variants of images. So I'm creating these different layouts, and that's why.
InDesign understands them as well, right?
Yeah, you can drop them in and choose them. Good stuff.
Very useful.
So I always give the layer comps that I'm intending to save as my eventual file name. I'll put the file name in the layer comp itself. So I've got these two different options here, and all they're doing is just saying, have this folder visible, and for this one, have this folder visible. But then I have some layer comps at the top that are set to show the layer styles rather than the visibility. And these are my control ones. And what they do is they change the background layer effect style. So if I wanted this with the dark background as it currently is, or if I wanted it with the medium background, and then I can export out ones with that color, or if I want it with medium light background and export out with those colors, or the light one. So I've got the same layout, and in fact, I would need to add in the layer style over on the text, so that it makes it dark for the light background. So it's a good way of kind of like, you know, tweaking and having multiple layouts that you want to choose and experiment with, but then also experiment with color rather than just duplicating your layers to no end. So it's a good sort of like middle ground on things. Okay, so that's obviously the cover look of things. Let's have a go and let's try this live. So this is just an image I took of an existing book of the same dimensions. And the idea is we're going to drop in that same PDF. And we're going to choose an internal spread. What one do I think looked cool? I think this one was kind of fun.
I like the one with the neon. I loved it.
Oh, the double.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can go for that one. That's got a nice spine area, because that's probably
cool.
Probably what I'm most concerned about. And we don't have page backing, so we're going to have to create one of those. Let's just get it roughly to the size that we want. And let's just work it out. So I did this image completely as a top-down, trying not to have too much perspective involved, because that just creates more headaches on things.
You can always use a little bit of warp, though, to get around that. So you can add like a warp line, that's so handy.
Okay, so we're going for about this size on things. Let me line up the actual crop mark correctly. So about that. Now let's rotate that back to 0. Cool. So let's now, let's make my image just a bit larger so I can see what I'm doing.
Okay.
And let's create a shape layer for our underlying pages. And I'm going to be very rough with this. Cool. Looks good. And let's give that a name. Page. Get these grouped. Right. So what we're going to do is set that as a clipping mask. In fact, we should also add in just some sort of mark. Let's go for... In fact, this is going to be where we get our shadow from. So I'm just going to add in a rectangle. Now, this may work, or it may not.
You won't know until you try, Joe.
Absolutely, absolutely.
By the way, just in case she's watching, oh, sorry, mate, I was just going to say, just in case she's watching, because she's not very well, she's got corona, unfortunately. Jackie Mulvar, not around in the chat today. It's her birthday, I believe. So happy birthday, Jackie. And if you are watching this, I hope you're getting through it.
That is not a happy birthday celebration to be had, but as happy as you can.
She's delayed her birthday by a week.
There we go. Yeah. See, we can do all sorts these days. We're smart beings. Right, what is going on here? Let's set this opacity back down. You know what? That kind of works. I need to set reflected. That's what I wanted. Not reversed. No, maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. Let's keep it linear. Okay, so this is not going to be the most photorealistic option.
No, but we'll get the idea, Joe. That's the main thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So now, if I turn back on my clipping masks, bing, 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 convert these to a smart object. Now we've got our layout, and from here, let's crop these in. Save that. All right, now let's go. Oh, I'm gonna do your way. There we go. Holding command.
A command way. It's not my way. I didn't make it. It's just there.
The word command just reminds me of Red Alert and Command and Conquer games. Commando. Let's go for a bit of warp.
I used to play an ace game back in the military days with Commander Keen. It's a wacky game, that was. Used to sneak off down the tech workshop and play it. Skiving is what that's called.
All right, so we are just very... Oh, it's a bit of a messy one, but it's cropped off, so pretend you can't see that. Okay.
Look at that. That's the stuff.
Rough and ready, but good job.
Oh, mate, that's outstanding. It looks really good. Really good.
I think what it needs is a little bit of texture on it. So I'd probably add like a tiny, I don't know, layer of
like
noise or some sort. Yeah. Anyway, we are running out of time on that, so I'm going to leave that there. But what I would say to address things that I have noticed is got a bit of a weird bend that's happened over here. So I would spend some time tweaking that and adjusting it, whatever. But the great thing of doing these types of layouts is I can always double click. I can go in and I can add in a completely different book if I want to do, or different layouts, and all sorts of things direct from within here.
No, it looks great, mate. And you're doing it live, so it's great.
So, right. Well, I think that kind of tallies up all of the things that I was aiming to show an attempt for the week of making the book. As I said, it's been a fun one, kind of building things together. And likewise, we wanted to challenge you guys to get involved and make your own layouts. And
yes,
you actually have. It's been brilliant. We've had some submissions.
Ooh, let's get a look then.
So they were posted into Discord. Let me make this large. So Discord community has been active with people doing... Let's turn that off. So it's been active with people posting. So first of all, Stuart was first one in, also saying not an entry because I think it previously won. Yeah, I think.
Still nice to show your work though. It's still,
Yeah, definitely. And also getting in first is great because that, it relieves the pressure of other people, and they can go through and take a look, and they can, get inspired from it. And immediately I saw this and I was like, I love this text. I'm definitely taking inspiration from this. Unsure what font it is, but if I was to hazard a guess, it looks very similar to the font that I use currently for my branding, which is an Adobe font called Ephra. But yeah, great text going on here. Loving this.
And a bit of Cambridgeshire going on there as well, which is excellent. We both live there, so
I need to visit Cambridge.
Give me a shout.
Beautiful. Are you actually in Cambridge?
I'm in Cambridgeshire, but I'm not in Cambridge. I was born in Cambridge, interestingly.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, great little spot. Great use of images, full bleed, and positioning a text. Nothing too close around the edges. I think this is a great one. But also, as you said, not an entry. So
work in the white space in both of those. Really good, nice and airy. Room for things to own their own space, and great use of color as well.
Curves on these letter forms as well. Okay, cool. Let's zoom through. There was one of these was a link. Let's make sure I don't miss that. Okay, it's there.
Okay.
Again, love the text that we've got going on here.
Yeah.
So this is Stuart again. Yeah. And also, yeah, great space, negative space around the outside, and playing into things.
The font, by the
yeah.
way, Proxima Nova Extra Bold.
That is what I used to use for
I
my
use
headings, and now I use that as my body copy on the site. I think anyway.
Yeah.
Great one. Right, let's zoom through. So this one,
Sean Kosol. We've got one there from Sean.
So this one was sent as a PDF that I've opened up separately. Let's show all. The beautiful land of New Zealand, the North Island.
Steve.
Cool.
Steve.
A lot of birds going on here. Oh, I love the kiwi so much. Yeah, great amount of images, and all sorts of things happening. One thing I would maybe wonder is, if we've got our spine here, is how much do we lose on as the page folds in?
Yeah.
But if this is only like a 3 or 4 page, pamphlet or whatever, then of course you can go as tight as you want. It's you're not going to be having like the thickness of the book and pages all together. Also, top marks for doing the full printer crop marks and page information. We like to see that. Yeah, great job.
Yeah, that would make a great fold out. And Stuart Fickling is just chiming in on that, saying that same thing. Cool. There's my new house.
Big page numbers. So this is Sean, and again, great collection of images all together, and even a large image over the back. So we've got some good breathing room here for a spine and other things. Some big call outs on the page numbers, which I know you're a fan of, Tony.
I do like big page numbers.
Big numbers.
Yes. Yep.
Would you have a big door number on your house?
I have got big door numbers on my house. They're aluminium.
There we go. Yeah.
They've never cut. Yeah.
Well, you're consistent, so that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is all kind of coming together. Again, if I was to say with the typography on the breathing room of things, that's maybe something I'd maybe add a bit more space around.
I know some people really like a knocked back image in the background, and this layout looks great. I'm just not great for those personally. It's not, and mainly because with type at that kind of size, you might have a couple of legibility issues in places there that I would. That's why I would probably not use it. But here again, if this was pamphlet style, that might be something that worked that really well.
Yeah, it also it helps on what paper stock you use. I find if it's got like a glossy paper, then it would work.
Yeah.
We've got a mock-up.
Daryl's
Drawn to the Sea.
Journal like number everything 1. About that. Everything about that. Yeah.
Great image as well. Like, not really alluding to too much, but it is drawn to the sea. You're drawn into it. That is a perfect use of that image.
Yeah, and the type has itself waves. I love that.
Yeah, this is great. Loving this.
Really
interested to know how you made the mock-up, what your technique was. Here's the flat lay if we want to see that. Again, it's so interesting how things do come to life when you show it in a mock-up. Seeing it in a physical form, it brings it so much to life. Loving these touches of the waves and shapes going on here. Again, good space around the spine for your text. Not too long a line length. Love the double width subtext here. Yeah, this is great. Loving this one.
Okay, I'll be curious to know, Daryl, if you did that using a span columns paragraph style, or if you had it as a separate text box. I'm just curious. I like to know these things.
Just looking through to another layout, so above and beyond on the required submission. Yeah, no, this is good. If I was to call something out, I'd say maybe I'm unsure in the frequency of these little embellishments. I'd maybe knock them back just a little bit. But otherwise, yeah, I think this is great.
Yeah, again, that's a thing that it's a delicate balance, right? That getting those things right. He has just told me, by the way, in the chat that he used span columns. So good man. Perfect. You get 50 extra Tony points for doing that.
That's just funny because the Tony Award is an actual award as well.
It is actually an award, yeah, but isn't it in the dramatic arts, isn't it? Isn't it something to do with? Yeah.
Not for our book handoff performance, though. No Tonys for that.
Anyway, I'm going to stop interrupting you because it's gone 1 minute past, so we'll just carry on for a few more minutes. Sorry.
All right. Quickly wrapping through. So this is looking very much like a magazine editorial piece. A bit of a different concept to the others, which are more of like a personal sort of like photo book style. But
love that continuation there at the top. Yeah, fantastic.
Love the little drops in on the placeholder as well. Good call outs with some character styles. And yeah, multiple variants of drop caps. Yeah, good. Great stuff. This is very cool. And this is a follow-on of the same, I think, or possibly different layout, but both from Angus. Again, right, I'm going to try not to pause too long on these because we are over time. This is great. Loving this.
Whose is this one?
This is, I'm going to attempt the name Biola.
Biola. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, this is a very cool play into the page. Again, maybe with the spine could just be a bit tricky with how things might crop off as they fold in, especially with a font that does take a bit of attention to read.
Yeah. But again, if it was pamphlet style,
absolutely.
All of these are great.
Column spacing, great stuff. Great attention to typography. Oh, Tony, we have to choose a winner.
Well, do we have to choose, or does the chat have to choose? I guess that's right now,
handing off responsibilities.
So Stuart's work, lovely as it is, can't win, right? Because he's won a subscription before, but we applaud his entry. It's fantastic. So what we've got, the choices are Daryl, Sean, Biola, and Angus.
Angus,
Yes. So that's what you've got. Just type that word, Daryl, Sean, Angus, or Biola in the chat now, and we'll just scroll through them. Now, by the way, Angus, I did notice your perpendicular set text there on your Portugal off-grid layout. Liked it, using the O as a central anchor for perpendicular text. Very nice. That would only work with a geometric font like that. Really nice. Yeah, and Steve. I missed Steve out. Sorry, Steve. So Steve.
And Steve.
Yeah.
This one,
Yeah. So
are we getting messages in of who's voting?
We are getting we're getting, let's have a quick look. So I'm going to need to just hold on a minute. Sean doesn't want to win. Come on, Sean. Of course you do. He's elected to be out. So I'm just going to give it a moment or two more. Tim is very good at counting these things. If Tim whispers in my ear, I will trust you. But at the moment, I've got to find a cut-off point. This is very, very difficult to do. So, okay, I am going to stop at this point, and I am going to just... Oh, man, still one's coming in. I'm going to use a piece of paper to quickly annotate these things. I think
that's a good suggestion.
Fish Pipe is the winner. Well, if I scroll through very quickly, Angus is looking very, very strong in there. So I am going to, yeah, it looks like Angus.
Yep.
It does look like Angus. Yes. I said Anglus there, and I added there. Anglus.
I can join in with that. I think one of the things that stood out for me with this is it did have a very sort of commercial and actual, you know, it's the type of thing that you could find in you know, like a tourist information site and other things. And I like the attention to other typographic tools and techniques that we've got. So the multiple drop caps, the character styles, the columns,
Old leaders,
the captions. Yeah, there's a lot happening here that shows
Lord Tony Harmon.
attention to InDesign's capabilities. I think there we go, Angus.
Fantastic.
Well done. Congratulations.
Nice one, Angus.
You will be messaged from someone? Emma, Tim,
Emma
maybe?
will get in touch with you. And or Tim. Tim will get in touch with you. Yes. So there you go. Tim will be in touch, Angus. Well done. But well done to everybody that entered. Some great work there. Really, really good stuff. If you want to check it out, you can check it out and chat with the community on our Discord. Tim is just dropping that link into the chat now. But Joe, it just remains to say thanks for doing an excellent job this week on the hackathon. It's been really good. I was so glad I managed to squeeze in 2 sessions with you this week. It's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So thank you.
Yeah, no, it's pushed me to get into making this eventual book, and I'll tweak and work on it for probably a few more months and whatever. But maybe at some point it might come to life. So.
Yeah. No, great job. Congrats again, Angus, and everybody have a good weekend. Stay safe, be happy, all of that good stuff. Don't forget, join us Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays here on Adobe Live at midday UK time. See you later. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.